Hey there, hi there, ho there. You are welcome as can be. Welcome to Comic Book 101 TV. I, of course, am your wonderful, prettiful, beautiful host, the one and only Princess of Weird, Josh Johnson, and to my left...
And, little cosplay in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, you got to work on the nickname, dude. This is Cosplay in Tampa Bay's top #1 notch photographer, one and only Michael Stanley.
Well, it does help. I am the only photographer in cosplay in Tampa Bay.
You don't need to let the people know that.
As you know, there's another one. There's Amazing Studios that's part of it, too.
So there you go. There is more than one. But nevertheless, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Comic Book 101 TV. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with us, and we thank you for it. Michael, how's your week been?
It's been an interesting week. Relaxing.
Yeah, because luckily you get to work from home. Meanwhile, I'm still in the studio helping out, doing everything I can to make sure
I'm still running off no sleep right now. I didn't sleep at all last night.
This is why I just constantly am pumped through, filled with energy drinks. Like, they've already told me I can't be sponsored by them, so I got to put it in this like white cup now. But I'm serious. Somebody needs to sponsor me. I drink like 25 in a day. Yeah, I know I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Yeah, I mean, I think there's other things I should be worrying about beyond the energy drinks consumption. But no, ladies and gentlemen, there is something that Michael needed to worry about. We took care of it on Nerd Talk TV this past week.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's go
to the video first, because this is your reward, ladies and gentlemen, for a $25 donation we had last week. Michael took 2 to the fanny. And there is the ever wonderful and lovely Elizabeth.
Mike is he loves
administering your lickings here.
You normally have to pay people.
Oh, you can feel it. We might not have the full audio.
She put some ass into that.
You can definitely see the thrill and enjoyment in your face there, Michael.
Come on, Mike, one more, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, and it was 2 of them. If you saw our post on Facebook earlier today, we are trying to raise money for the studio. So if you'd make a $25 donation to the WeBeam Studios Cash App, you can hit us up on the Cash App at $WeBeamTV. There you see it right there, ladies and gentlemen. And for every $25 donation, 2 5s, well, 2, 5, 25, we administer 2 whacks to Mr. Cosplay in Tampa Bay himself, Michael Stanley, at the end of our show today. So keep it going. We're hoping we can raise up a lot of money. You get to see this man in pain. I get to administer that pain. All it costs is $25. You're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be amazing. There you just saw from our last week's show that it was
going home.
Nope, you're still here. We're still got plenty of show to go. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we need to thank our sponsor, Yancy Street Comics, who, thankfully, even though there won't be new comic books this week, they are running a store sale. Huge sale, 35% off store-wide, ladies and gentlemen. New current comics, special orders, subscriptions, holds, action figures, dollar bin, everything, ladies and gentlemen. 35% off. It is over at Gulfview Square Mall in Port Richey, Florida.
It doesn't include your holds.
And
subscriptions, holds, and new ones.
Oh, excuse me, excludes those.
It excludes.
So everything else it does count for. Thank you for catching that one, Michael. But it's over there at Port Richey. Tell them Comic Book 101 TV sent you. They might hook you up with a little something special. But this is going to run from now till whenever new comics start picking up, ladies and gentlemen. I know we're both excited for that whenever that happens, but I'm even more excited for the sale.
Oh, I can't wait. I already know the comics I'm picking up Friday.
Yeah.
I've already talked to him. He has them ready for me. So
and we're still going to be talking about them next week. Just because new comics aren't coming out each and every week doesn't mean you can't be picking up new comic books for your own collection. I know there's a lot of graphic novels we'll be talking about in the upcoming couple weeks.
There's a lot of singles. Buying is graphic novels now.
I still read out my single issues. There's a lot of graphic novels that I want to try to catch up on, because this is the perfect time to start catching up on stuff. Power Rangers Necessary Evil I need to catch up on, and the story before that, because I read Shattered
I haven't
Grid.
Read that one. That's one I'm after.
I read Shattered Grid. The one that comes after Shattered Grid and Necessary Evil is where I got to start picking up on, because our Lord Draken's coming back. They're all hush-hush in it, but I can't wait for it. But that is for next week, and more time to come on that. For this week, however, we need to start getting into our new comic books of the week. Are you ready for this one, Michael?
Oh, yeah. So John was posting. He said, "I'm going to die. Ha ha."
Well,
And he said, stop yelling.
why does everybody got to tell me to stop? How's about this? You guys get as excited as me about new comic books, and then you tell me about yelling. Because I'm from New England. We just talk loud. Genuinely, the entire state just talks loud. I come from a household of 5 families. Let's just be thankful I'm not like already beating Mr. Cosplay in Tampa Bay with the board we have over there. But nevertheless, let's get into our new comic books. I'm going to start it off like I always do at the beginning of the month. Previews time! That's right, brand new Previews magazine has just come out for the month of April, and you will see these comic books not coming to your stores anytime soon. That is right, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 issues worth of Previews magazines. We only have 2 on the table right now, but February, March, and April's editions, that's everything that is on hold right now. So I'm thinking you have your Cosplay in Tampa Bay segment each and every week.
Yep.
I think next week I'm going to debut a new segment, and what I'm excited to see whenever we see new comics start coming down the pipeline. I think that would be a pretty interesting topic for me to handle. I got all 3 of these Previews magazines. I know.
Go pick that one up.
I already know a lot of things that are coming out, so whenever the new comics start coming back out, we'll already have you ready for some of the new stuff that's coming out, and I can't wait for that one. What did you pick up this week? What was your first purchase?
First one, I went to Yancy Street last week, sometime middle of the week. I don't even remember what day. I just randomly.
I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah, it just
Wednesday or
randomly
Thursday?
got off. No, it was Thursday because Wednesday I cook. So no,
One of the it was one of
yeah,
those days.
because I got off early actually from work that day, so I went up there and I actually picked up Marvel Zombies.
The covers.
But it's the covers. But what makes it special is they've had guests hanging out on and off all week long.
And who would that magical guest be, Michael?
Why did I forget his name? There it is. Arthur Saddam.
Sudham?
Saddam. I'm
The
probably
worst part is
pronouncing it wrong.
it's here in our notes, and he
Yeah.
can't even do it.
Yeah, I can't even read right now.
The worst part is he literally sends me the photo of the insert and the autograph and goes, that guy.
Yeah. So it's autographed on the outside of the book, and he also autographed it on the first page.
So
of
it
the
is
book as well.
autographed on the sleeve of the book and the inside of the book as well. So that's 2 autographs.
yeah,
So
he's-
if something were to happen, let's
To the
say
sleeve, I still have it
you still have the autograph.
He did all the cover works for all the zombie books.
And those covers are absolutely amazing. I don't know if any of you have actually had the chance to check them out, or even check out Marvel Zombies. We talked about it in our Spider-Man edition in our archives, which you can go and check out on WeBeam TV, YouTube, and Facebook, Comic Book 101 TV. But that was an amazing read. I loved everything Marvel Zombies that had come out. Our Marvel Zombies vs. Army of Darkness. A lot of great stuff there. A lot of great covers there. And, I would say it was a great read, but that's not really a read,
Yeah,
is
it's
it?
just all the artwork, which he also had several of the normal covers too.
No, that's
The
awesome.
books there, but I wanted that one just because it's all the covers.
Who knows? If you're at Yancy Street, you might see Arthur there. Give him a good old
I'm not
hey
sure
there,
how
hi
much
there, ho
longer he's
there.
hanging out. I just know all last week he was in town.
Well, the very first book I happened to read this week, and there you see our support the station there, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, $25 gets you 2 paddle whacks on Michael here at the end of the show.
already said I have 2 bops coming now.
We already have our first donation. This is awesome.
We got 2 coming later in the show.
Keep it coming, ladies and gentlemen. The more we can make is behind Black and Blue, the better it is for our pockets here. We can help finance the station because obviously with everything that's been going on, it's been a little bit harder for us here at the studio. We're trudging along, and this definitely goes a long way and helps. Now, the very first book I read this week was a very special one to me. I've talked about it in weeks past. It's Ghostbusters Year One, issue number 3. It's a 4-part series that follows all of the 4 Ghostbusters, the originals. It started off with Winston Zeddemore, went to Ray Stantz. Now, Peter Venkman's chance to shine in this one, and an amazing read, this one. Egon is issue number 4. However, we have to wait a little ways before the Egon issue comes out. But the Peter Venkman, obviously, I love Peter Venkman. He was always my favorite Ghostbuster. Reading an entire story about him. And if you remember, in Ghostbusters the movie, Michael, there was that whole bit where they talk, Casey Kasem is on the radio, and he's talking about the Ghostbusters went and busted a ghoul down at a nightclub and then continued to dance the night away. This is that story. you actually get to see them bust that particular ghoul and then bust the night away and see Egon, kick step a little. Yeah.
Egon dancing?
Egon dancing.
That's weird right there. You don't picture that.
And the best part about it is even Peter makes reference. He's like, I wish Winston was there for this because it's hard to explain this after the fact. So, yeah, I highly recommend it. It's in stores right now. You can pick up issues 1, 2, and 3 of Ghostbusters Year One. Really good pickup. Great read.
My next one, because I have a tendency, I like to go after number ones just so I can start the series off and read them. It's the Giant Size X-Men Nightcrawler.
The Giant Size Nightcrawler?
Yes, Giant Size X-Men Nightcrawler comic.
And there you see the cover right there.
Nightcrawler's always been one of my favorite characters in the X-Men storyline. The writers, Jonathan Hickman, teams up with legendary artist Alan Davis, which did X-Men, Excalibur, Avengers. When X-Men lose contact with Grey Malkin habitat, it falls into Nightcrawler to lead the mission into the unknown.
And of course, if anybody's going to lead your mission into the unknown, Nightcrawler is the dude. He literally just jumps and teleports in
anywhere he wants.
Yeah, he's a great character. We might have him on a spotlight somewhere down the line, but we're going to continue on into a book that we actually both picked up this week. We both happened to read this one, and I was excited for months for this issue. And this has been the first time, given everything that's been going on, that I've been so deeply impacted because I found out that, we have to wait for the rest of the issues, but Transformers, The Terminator. Issue number 1 is finally out. There's the copy that Michael got on the left.
See, I didn't see the one on the right, or I would have got that one instead.
That cover on the right is what I first saw as an introduction to this. This was the previews page that I saw, and that cover alone sealed the deal for me. I love the Terminator franchise. Obviously, I love Transformers. I can show the Decepticon emblem on my chest because that's how I roll. But this book was amazing. Like any great Terminator movie or comic or anything, it opens up with the destruction and showing the scattered remains of the future and how it was going to lie. And like we've always seen in the Terminator films or anything of the Terminator franchise, there's the big ships, the scout ships of the Terminator that usually have the Terminators.
Around,
They've got the big, huge turbine engines and the big, huge searchlights that are looking for everybody. Yeah, that's Starscream, Thundercracker, and the other Decepticon jet whose name is escaping me right now.
Jetfire?
No, Jetfire is the Autobot one. I made that same mistake when trying to figure it out. But nevertheless, all three of them, Blue Streak maybe? No, it's something like that. Nevertheless, all three of them are actually those searcher ships. And they're looking over, like you see the T-800 model Terminator, and he's trying to figure out how to get into the past so they can stop what inevitably happened, which was the Decepticon uprising. They took out all of the Autobots. They were even fighting and taking out Skynet and almost won till they sent the T-800 into the past. Now, one of the great things about seeing that post-apocalyptic landscape of the future is not only did it look like everything you would have seen out of the Terminator movie, but you see Autobot and Decepticon corpses littering the street. Cosmo is crashed into a freeway. Their freeways are tumbling over each other. There's an Autobot or a Decepticon with his arms and like one arm, one leg ripped off, like bodies everywhere. No human bodies whatsoever.
Yeah.
Only
humans are gone already. At this point.
By this point they're done. It's just
Sarah Connor couldn't fix it this time.
Machine versus machine, and it's so funny you bring up Sarah Connor because guess who's in this book? Sarah Connor comes back in this book. She is actually one of the first people to meet the T-800, and this is before the events of Terminator 1. So she has no idea who the Terminator is, no idea about his missions, no idea about his plans, or even the famous line, Sarah Connor, yes? None of that has happened yet. She willingly goes with him thinking that they're going, like he needs help kind of thing. And only to find at the very last panel, spoiler alert, Megatron has a downed Optimus Prime with his gun right to his head, ready to blow off Prime's head. And now you have to wait 3 months for the next issue.
So who are the bad guys in this? Is it the Decepticons or is it Terminator?
Believe it or not, from the way this story has started to pan out, it is the Terminators feel that all Cybertronian life is the enemy.
Yeah.
And obviously the Decepticons look at any Cybertronian or Autobot as the enemy. Eventually the Terminator and Optimus Prime and some of the Autobots are going to team up to take on the Decepticons in future issues, and it will be, especially now that we know that the Terminator, the T-800, has a hatred for all Cybertronians. Whatever alliance they're going to have, it's going to be a very loosely based alliance where at any moment,
don't trust anyone.
Exactly,
at this point.
you know, and
anybody can turn their back on each other.
Exactly, and I thought this was an amazing read. I cannot wait for issue number 2 to come out in like 3 months.
Yeah.
And there you go. There's my first issue for this week of things to get excited about in the future. Ghostbusters Year One, issue number 4, and Transformers: The Terminator, issues 2, 3, 4, however many are in this series, because it's going to be a great one. I can't wait to finish it out.
I can't wait for them. It's going to be a while, but I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be really good. This is definitely going to be one of those series. I've been recommending it to a lot of people. I recommend it to you. Anybody who's asked me about it,
it's one of the ones I'll keep buying when they come out, like the Unkillables and my Power Ranger Ninja Turtles. I'll keep buying those.
And there's another one, because there's one more issue of that's yet to come, and we got to wait 3 months. We gotta wait.
That one's gonna kill me because I'm waiting so bad
for the Megazord with the turtle head. Yeah. So they've already released what's gonna happen in it a little bit, but we're gonna have to wait even longer.
I'm such a Power Ranger fan. I was online yesterday on Jason David Frank's site, and I bought one of his hats yesterday.
Lucky you. I've always tried winning his contests that he has on there.
Oh, when he used to do the contest, he'll call you and stuff.
Yeah, or even then, just like an autograph pop, or like he was doing Lord Draken figures and Green Ranger figures and stuff. I at least had to throw my hat in. Unfortunately, you can see my hat is still on my head, so I didn't win. But we're going to move on. That's all of the new comics we purchased this week. Now it's time to talk about our action figure purchases of the week. I love this. I can't wait. You're going to get the first dibs this time because my toy actually ties into our character spotlight this week. But go ahead.
The comic kind of ties into
it. It goes from the comic to the toy to the character spotlight. We'll explain how it all gets there in a second. But go ahead and open up your toy first.
We're going to go Old Man Logan right here. And I've had this one for quite a while. I got this when I got the other Legend figures.
And this is, of course, is a Hasbro 2016 Marvel X-Men Legends figure. Usually there's a Build-A-Figure in here. I can't see the other figure in there this time, but it definitely is a old man.
Should have one.
We'll see after he opens it. I'm excited for this one. When you
this one's killing me because I like this one so much.
But now you get to let him breathe. He can sit on your shelf. He can sit on the desk for all we care at this point. Oh, just hear that package tearing.
Well, it's good I've been opening them because since I'm working from home, I've been playing with the figures on my desk at home.
Wait a minute. That's missing.
Yeah, there.
Let me see that.
There isn't one with this one, it looks like.
Yes, there is. That's what it is. Wolverine is an extra figure in this set. So normally it builds, if you can see, there's a little figure there. We'll try to get a photo of that or something. Oh, well. The Dazzler's in the line, though. I like the Dazzler. Right. And there you go. Old Man Logan taking it on. He's got the claws extended. Oh, I love those Marvel Legends figures.
It's a really solid figure.
Oh, like every time those Marvel Legends figures are there, you missed the shot. All right, let's try this again. Set him up. Let's see if we can't get this right. All right. I don't think it's going to work. All right,
there we go.
Let's see if we can do it now, Rob.
Can we get the shot?
There we go. On the pull-in. See, we're trying things here, ladies and gentlemen, 1 week at a time. So my figure of the week is a WWE Mattel Elite number 42. This came out in 25. Oh, I love the Elite figures. They're always amazing. However, I have a very special collection. We've already discussed I collect certain Triple H items from here from time to time. He's one of my personal favorites. And of course, where this all ties in, so we talked about Transformers and Terminator. We're now going to talk about Terminator Triple H from Wrestlemania 31, the King of Kings himself. Now, this is one of the things that I absolutely collect. I've been trying to build a Triple H King of Kings collection for a better part of 2 years now. So anytime there's a figure release, I only have 2 or 3 of them now, but every time he's wearing the Skull King armor in any shape, form, or the Conan armor look, that's the version of Triple H I love. I love those entrance attires. So those are what I'm collecting exclusively exclusively. Sometimes I'll get the random one, like you saw the Just Toys Bendham from last week that
You know
you can
which
check.
one they should release? The one with him on the trike, with Stephanie on.
They have released that one. That one
Did it come with the trike?
It did not come with the trike, but you can buy that figure. It is actually
I wish they had the trike, because that would make it so much
Believe
better.
it or not, when it comes to professional wrestling action figures, you don't really get accessories like vehicles a lot of time. Like, there are older ones like in the 90s that you can do, but in the modern day, the most you're getting is the Wreck and Slam mobile and the Wreck and Slam ambulance that is coming out by Mattel in a few months. You know, hopefully given everything.
Before you open that, did they ever release the throne?
They have. So the only way you can buy the Triple H throne, which I own, is there is a construction set like Lego.
Okay.
It was by C3 Construction. I can't remember everything fully off of the top of my head because I don't have the notes
And
in
you
front
weren't
of me.
expecting me for random.
Yeah, exactly. But I actually, it's one series of toys that I almost have every single one of. So I have the Triple H with it. You build his throne. He comes in the Wrestlemania 30 attire
Now,
with
is
the
it
gold.
full-size figure like this?
No, it's it's a minifig because it's Lego. So all Lego and Mega Bloks and C3 and all those kind of things, they all, you know, fit to the same system, and they're all around the smaller size. They're bigger than a Lego figure. They're around the size of a normal minifig, so 2-3 inch, you know, 2-inch figure. It's really awesome. I love them. But we're gonna get into this bad boy, my Triple H from WrestleMania 31, King of Kings. Oh yeah, I'm gonna
take a minute to open that.
Yeah, because I want to somewhat save the package. I guess not. That's not happening now. But the interesting thing about this figure is when I watched WrestleMania 31 live.
I remember watching that. All
and
the Terminators popped up.
As soon as I saw him do that, I was like, I have to own this figure. It is by far my favorite. King of Kings armor. There we go. There's the packaging going.
Was that the same year Arnold got into the Hall of Fame?
That is the same year Arnold got into the Hall of Fame. He actually did the voice, like did a cameo for Triple H in
the video.
Yep, as the T-800, and there you see him, the game himself, Triple H. It's always horrible trying to get these figures to stand. And there we go. Let me move him up a little bit so he's better in frame. And Triple H, King of Kings, and as you can see,
who's gonna win, Triple H or Wolverine?
Hold on. And the best part about this is this entrance attire comes off. So you can have a normal Triple H figure, or
see, I would just keep the mask on him.
So there you go. I love this figure. Building my collection. That is an amazing Triple H there in his Terminator gear. So people are now wondering there, how does Triple H tie into our next subject? Obviously, the Terminator thing ties in together.
Yeah.
Most of you might be wondering, is our character spotlight this week going to be on the Terminator? No, we've got something even more special planned.
The character spotlight's going to be different this week.
But we got to get to our cosplay of the week first, so let's hit it. The graphics for our cosplayer of the week. Take it away, Mr. Cosplay in Tampa Bay, Michael Stanley.
Pull up my notes real quick. Here they go. So cosplayer of the week is on Instagram, goes by Zany Twitch. So let's go ahead and pull up some of his cosplays. So Zany Twitch, he got into cosplay when he was in his 6th grade because a friend of his would dress up a lot. Then he figured out it was cosplay. His favorite cosplay is Cherry Bomb because of the color and a fake eye. But he loves Mello because it's his favorite character from Death Note. I cosplay because it makes him happy, dress up like someone else and make content. He also does drag, so it's like a mix of both he gets to do. His next cosplay is, I'm going to butcher the last name of this up. I know the character is Junko Inoshima from Danger Rapino, but it's going to be more dramatized. Again, his Instagram is Zany Twitch. You can go definitely that. Actually, if we go back one photo, or when it goes, if we can loop it again, the one with the piano.
Yeah, the one with the. It's coming up here in a second.
Yeah, it'll come up. That was from Holiday Matsuri last year. I didn't shoot that one. But that one is actually one of my photos from MetroCon.
Oh, there you go.
The piano one. So, awesome cosplayer. Go check out his page. Like it, support it, and everything. And follow all the local cosplayers.
And, of course, if you ever want to be our cosplayer of the week, all you got to do is send us a message here at Comic Book 101 TV on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be. If you're interested, we usually put out the post there and ask out it.
We had a lot of people last week interested, so we're still messaging everybody back. I promise. Give me time. There was so many of them at once. I can't answer everybody at once, but
we do want to thank you all of you out there in the wonderful world of Comic Book 101 TV land, because if it wasn't for you, we would have not been able to break over 1,000 likes on Facebook. Thank you all very much. We can't do this show without you. We very much appreciate it.
I have something I was going to mention to you. I forgot. I got some autographed banners from SuperCon in Miami.
All right.
I got quite a few. I want to hold a contest, say when we get to 2,000 likes.
All right, that sounds good to me.
If we get to 2,000 likes,
we'll randomly give it away.
I'll bring out some banners here, and we'll take a vote on which banner should be raffled away, and we'll give one away.
Now, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Like, share, subscribe, all that greatness. We're going to have an amazing... We just got to get to 2,000 likes.
These banners are the full banners you see at convention, 5-6 foot banners that the guests have at the tables.
And do not forget, there you see the support the station on the screen. For every $25 we raise, single $25 donation, Michael Stanley is going to get 2 whacks by the longboard at the end of the show.
We have 2 already tonight.
Please send in your money so that you can help the station. We're ever growing. We may have lost some shows given everything that's been going on, but we're trudging on. We're continuing on. It helps us here at the station, helps us keep delivering content to you. But it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for our Character Spotlight of the Week. And this week is unlike anything you have seen before, because Wrestlemania is in 3-4 days. I can't even. I'm getting excited.
It's Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, so it's 4 and 5 days, because it's 2 days.
Yes,
it's 2 days.
The event's so big, it's being held over 2 nights. You heard me talking about it here before. Originally, I had a bunch of shows planned for this week. Unfortunately, not going on because of everything going on in the climate of the world. But we wanted to keep our Character Spotlight as we had originally intended. And this week, we are talking about the history of professional wrestlers in comic books. Now, nobody that we have able to see before has actually tackled this subject.
Even when you gave me the list when we were talking on the phone the other day, I did not know how crazy this was going to be.
And this isn't even a complete list, ladies and gentlemen. This is just what I could throw together in the short amount of time I had in research. If you like this subject, maybe we can do it further down the line, maybe next year, maybe some other time. But for right now, we're going to kick it right off. The very first time you would ever see a professional wrestler inside of a comic book would be
Superman.
It would be Antonio Rocca in Superman number 155. There you see him tossing Superman out of the ring like he was nothing.
Yeah, because Superman is. Nah, I'm not going to say that.
Nevertheless, it is still a very big thing for this to happen. It was August 1962 when this would come out, and it's Antonio Rocca is not somebody that most people's fans would recognize. He is from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Yeah. He was very popular back then. And for him to be one of the first people to ever grace a cover, or let alone a story in a comic book, it was big news for the time. Because we wouldn't really see anything until many, many years later. But there's something else that happened in August 1962.
I know this one.
What happened?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man makes his debut, and in that very first issue of Spider-Man, what does he do?
He fights a certain little wrestler.
Crusher Hogan, yes. I believe is his name. Looks a little bit like a Mr. Hogan from another time period. But how amazing is that in 1962, the same month...
Same year, we get 2 wrestlers in comics.
Exactly. Like, mind you, in the Spider-Man comic, it wasn't a real wrestler. It was somebody based off of a wrestler. It was a fictitious thing, which we would see in comic books a lot. Many a time, Bonesaw McGraw is not a real wrestler. Yes, he was played by the Macho Man Randy Savage, but he was not an actual character in the books. Another thing about that is there have been a lot of wrestling comic books to come out through the years. Not a lot of them would deal with, like Ninja Turtles had a wrestling episode, but it didn't have an actual wrestler in it. This is what we're dealing with this Character Spotlight, is actual living, breathing wrestlers who are in the books. We mentioned the Spider-Man because they both came out at the same time, but we would have to wait a long time, all the way till 1986, before we would ever see a professional wrestler grace a comic book. And do you know who that person would be?
It would be the same one that showed up in G.I. Joe cartoons.
It would be
Sergeant Slaughter.
The Sarge himself, Sergeant Slaughter, would make his very first appearance in G.I. Joe, Real American Hero number 48. And a very unique book this one was, because he shows up to help stop a plan by Zartan. A lot of craziness goes on in this issue. But, you know, it's the first appearance of Sergeant Slaughter. He didn't really appear in the comics or the cartoons all that much, but when he did, it became something even bigger because he was the only living, breathing G.I. Joe in existence.
What I remember from the cartoons is there were very little of him, but he would do the little intros and outros of the show.
Yeah, he became synonymous with the show all the way until he returned to professional wrestling and became an Iraqi sympathizer and lost the G.I. Joe contract because of it. But arguably, he had one of the best runs in his professional wrestling career at the time, facing Hulk Hogan at that WrestleMania. Now, it would still be another 4 years before we would ever see another wrestler in a comic book, which would happen in Marvel Comics Presents number 45. And this time, we've got the Incredible Hulk against the Incredible Hulk. Yes, it is. And in this slideshow, you're going to see there's the cover, and there's the 3 pages you need to focus on. Hogan shows up calling himself the Immortal Hulk Hogan, or the Immortal Hulk, the Invincible Hulk, whatever he might want to be called as. Then the Hulk actually jumps in the ring and then proceeds to lay the smacketh down on Hulk Hogan worse than anything he's ever had before, and tossed out of the arena by the Hulk, for the Hulk only to claim that there is only one
Hulk.
invincible, immortal, impenetrable Hulk.
And it's the Green Hulk.
Yep, there is only one Incredible Hulk, and actually, it's the Gray Hulk in this issue. It was Joe Fixit who went on to take on Hulk Hogan, one of the many personas of the Hulk. Now, that was in 1990. So Hulk Hogan is one of the biggest names in professional wrestling right now. You would figure WWF, with their cartoony characters at the time, with Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, The Undertaker, all these people, that they would have already jumped into the forte of comic books.
Well, I don't think they did, because at the time in the 80s, they were focused on that cartoon they did.
Yes, they were focused on the cartoon. They also had the LJN toy line. Honestly, what I think it was a lot of misplanted, because from my research and stuff, sometimes you don't necessarily need professional wrestling to have a comic book. Professional wrestling in and of itself is a comic book.
Yeah.
You get larger than life characters, stories that are, you know,
Especially
larger
back
than,
in the 80s and everything.
Well,
everything
even,
was over.
It all, honestly, in today's climate, which we will get to, it all depends which company you're following. I'll talk about a few companies a little bit later on that follow more of a comic book kind of motif for their company, but a lot of times it's almost the same thing. This is why you see a lot of people who are into professional wrestling read comic books, like myself. I'm at shows whenever, you know, they're going on and I'm actually working, you know, and we can have large public gatherings and stuff. I'm always at the shows. I've got my princess tiara on, my top hat. I got my ring. I'm ready. I bring the thunder, if you will. But I love comic books. It's what gives me some motivation, some fuel sometimes. And you'll see it. Rey Mysterio comes dressed out like the Joker. So many different things.
He's always worn so many different comics.
The Hurricane,
Flash and everything.
The Hurricane comes from Green Lantern. So professional wrestling and comic books have always been married to one another. But the first time we'd actually see a company get a comic book wasn't even WWF. It was actually World Championship Wrestling under Jim Herd's guide in 1991. There you see just 4 covers of this comic book, and there are some of the who's who of pro wrestling. Lex Luger was in the very first issue. Ron Simmons, the first ever black heavyweight champion, African-American champion in the history of the world. He's on it. Cactus Jack Bang Bang, he's in it. And of course, Big Van Vader
right there.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Ravishing Rick Rude. So many guys grace this these issues, it's a very short run of comic books. There wasn't that many of them released. Paul Heyman and the Dangerous Alliance make an appearance here. It's the very first time we see Steve Austin in a comic book, which will come up later on. Trust me on that one, because you can't talk WWF in the 90s without Steve Austin.
So what was interesting with those covers, they weren't the cartoon-looking covers. They used actual photos.
Yes, they used actual promo shots from some of the shows. I used to own number 2 there with Ron Simmons on it. That was one of the first ways I discovered WCW, was through trading cards and these comic books. I didn't even know about the show on TBS at the time, the Saturday morning show. But this comic book would only last about 12 issues, ladies and gentlemen. And now that's not that long of a run. You know, with this book, they made their story seem more like you would see on TV, to the point where they kind of took Rick Rude joining the Dangerous Alliance storyline, played around with it a little bit, and made it into what was in the 12-issue comic book. It started off a great way to introduce characters, a 15-man battle royal. One of the biggest things we see in this comic book is Lex Luger, who was on issue number 1, is only in it for 3 issues because he jumped ship to WWF at the time to become the narcissist. And they had to get rid of his entire character because he wasn't there anymore. You don't see that in normal comic books. Superman isn't jumping ship to Marvel Comics, so we need to write him out. But in pro wrestling comics, this is a norm. And then one of the things I found out, so April 1992 is when the WCW comic comes out, and what made this even more amazing to me was these comics were published by Marvel Comics. And you would figure now WWF, seeing what WCW is doing, they've got their own comic book and stuff like that. So WWF decides, we're going to do our own comic book. And out comes WWF Battlemania in 1991. Comes out in July. And there you see 2 of the issues there. And each one of them would come with 2 fold-out posters that could combine, like the Warrior and the Undertaker poster there. There you see Ted DiBiase and Sensational Sherry, and the covers with Warrior and Undertaker on it. This book would take more of a different approach than the WCW comic, where the WCW one followed a storyline, wrestling storyline from beginning to end, as it would have transpired in the ring. These books showed what it was like for professional wrestlers outside the ring. They came up with their own storylines, including one that, tell me if this doesn't sound like history going to repeat itself down the line. The Undertaker, obviously, being a man who runs his own mortuary and is
the dead man.
You know, he's the dead man. He runs his own funeral parlor with pallbearer and stuff. They have a service that they're getting ready for. And outside in a truck is the big boss man pulling surveillance. Halfway,
because he's a cop, that makes sense.
Because he's a cop, you know, making sure there's no dirty dealings going on.
Well, former cop. Because he ended up being
correctional officer, whatever it may be. That's not the point here, ladies and gentlemen. The point is, guess what the big boss man decides to do, surveillancing this funeral?
I'm going to guess he's crashing a funeral.
He's crashing a funeral and starting a fight with the Undertaker.
In the coffin?
No, honestly, I didn't read the issue to go that far. All I need to know is big boss man shows up at a funeral. That's all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's something you could have seen on Monday Night Raw back in the 90s.
That is literally something you've seen on Friday Night SmackDown when he took the Big Show's father's casket and drove it off. Wah, my daddy. Wah. Yeah, great storyline. Big Boss Man just apparently crashes funerals. He was doing it in 91. He was doing it in the late 90s and 2000s. It's just what he does. Apparently. So it was an amazing story to, you know, some stories in there, because they would really try to follow the wrestlers and give you backstory as to this is what the Undertaker does when he's not in the ring. This is what Boss Man does when he's not in the ring. Ted DiBiase, so forth and so forth.
What does Ultimate Warrior do when he's not in the ring then?
You don't want to know what the Ultimate Warrior does when he's not in the ring, because we will get there right now, because this homeboy in 1996 was one of the very first people to self-publish. That is right. In 1996, when it wasn't really known for people to self-publish and create their own comic books, Ultimate Warrior did it. And did he do it in a big way? Number 1 of the Ultimate Warrior came out 1996, like I said, and it came out everywhere. If you ordered WWF magazine, you got a copy of the Warrior comic book. You showed up to a live show, there was the Warrior comic book.
Shoved down your throat.
Yeah, you could not go anywhere. I still have a copy of Warrior #1. I had to purchase this one, believe it or not, many years later, because to me, it's such an important comic book if you're a professional wrestling fan. Every single one of us owned a copy of it. It was there.
Yeah.
There is an image or a Monday Night Raw promo where the Ultimate Warrior comes out wearing a baseball hat, something he never does. He gets a picture of himself drawn by Jerry Lawler cracked over his head, and he's supposed to bleed and stuff. But he's got the stupid baseball cap on, ruins the whole thing because he had to plug Warrior comic book as #1, baby. And this would last for about 4 issues plus a holiday special. Very unlikely, not a lot of people even knew it lasted 4 issues in a holiday special, let alone going past issue #1. It is a very hard read. The Ultimate Warrior, like his promos, really goes out there.
Yeah.
He goes into a whole nother stratosphere.
He was definitely a unique character outside the ring.
One of my, like as a kid, one of my all-time favorite people to see, I got to see him on his very last day on this earth. I was at that Monday Night Raw. I got to see him go into the Hall of Fame. And look, I might not be the biggest fan of the man of the Ultimate Warrior, but the character of the Ultimate Warrior, I'm sorry, just little kid me absolutely loves it. I'm still running around in my face paint to this day, and getting to see something like that and like that history, it was
the energy you got seeing him live when he was in his prime, running into the ring.
Yeah, and even then, getting to see him on those, not knowing at the time that was going to be the last time anybody saw the Ultimate Warrior, but seeing that last promo of his where he put on the mask and he had the coat on and like goosebumps and chills, like you can hear it in my voice. Very touching moment for me because I never thought I'd see something like that.
We never thought we would see him ever come back to the WWE or even get in the Hall of Fame.
And he was very smart about this. By self-publishing the book, he got to own all the profits. Vince McMahon never saw a dime from this comic book. Only the Warrior did.
And that's what makes him so interesting because he bought his name. He got his name copyright. He changed his name to the Warrior.
Technically, he legally changed his name to Warrior because he could not change it to Ultimate Warrior because of the trademark. But if his real name is Warrior, you can't say the man can't call himself the Warrior.
So he made a lot of good financial decisions back then for
It's one of those, like, as interesting of a man Jim Hellwig was and things that he did and some of the things he may have said that I don't personally agree with, he definitely helped change the world for a unique, better place, in my personal opinion, at least with the character he portrayed on TV. Now, we're going to move to 1997 because the Ultimate Warrior comic came out and Vince McMahon, obviously seeing all this going on, is like, we need our own comic. Now, the first time they did it with Battlemania, they didn't go to Marvel or DC. They actually went to Valiant Comics for Battlemania. And this is a theme that keeps with WWF through the years, is they don't go to big publishers for their comic books. They don't go to Marvel. They don't go to DC. They don't go to Dark Horse. They go to these little guys who are self-publishing and independent.
Probably is that way they can keep control of how they want the comic.
Exactly.
Let's go to someone smaller because we're going to give them the money, but we can control what we want out of the comic instead of Marvel saying, no, we want to do it this way.
And one of the things with that, doing it that way sometimes doesn't always give you the best results. Now, a lot of people don't know about this next comic book because it only came out as a preview in a WWF magazine for Wrestlemania 13, and the name of this thing is called WWF Crowzor. I believe that's how it's spelled or pronounced. Originally, you would see those two advertisements in the WWF magazine, and then finally you were given this preview, and there is just some of the art style for this. Essentially, the story of this is the Undertaker finds out that there are some beings from another world or dimension, and they send him a message that they're coming to attack, and apparently they have to fight them. There's way more images of this comic book than there really should be in release.
That one.
There was the advertisement in the magazine where if you wanted it, you could order the Crowzor t-shirt or you could order the graphic novel. But if you ordered the graphic novel, they only sent you 2 t-shirts because the book never saw the light of day beyond the preview of it because of how horrible that art style is, because of how out there the story was. WWE fans were not buying into that. That's the Undertaker. That's the dead man. That does not look like the Undertaker. That looks like Trent Reznor on acid.
looks like something Picasso would have drawn.
Yeah, that's just really horrible. Like we always talk about promote what you love here, but like it's hard to promote.
I don't try bash anything, but that's the worst artwork I've seen.
Yeah, like we were gonna Michael was ready to come on here and tell you how the Warrior comic was literally the worst comic ever made by man, and then I dug up Crozor,
and that definitely beat it.
That sends it to a whole new level entirely. Like I might have to buy this preview just because of how unique it is. It's not that expensive, but it never saw the light of day beyond the preview, and for obvious reason, they would take still photographs of some of the wrestlers and then animate that style over it. There was a father-son team, it looked like, who were in charge of this comic, but once again, it never really materialized. It never saw the light of day. I feel bad for the guys a little bit because Neville and Wayne Meyer, they spent so much time trying to put out this comic book and get it off the ground that it just would never see the light of day, unfortunately, and for obvious reasons. I mean, I can only imagine how many actual orders for that comic book they received. I mean, I wasn't ordering it, but I'm pretty sure you weren't either.
I didn't.
So then we would move along to 1999. We would have a few years without any wrestling comic books, but the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom, they would get their own comic book for 2 issues. WWF did have to sign off of this because they were a part of the company at the time. This was made for the Children's Fitness Network, and Antarctic Press was the ones to make it. This was a comic that the Legion of Doom wanted to do, the Road Warriors, to help promote better living and healthy living for kids. Tell them how to get out there and exercise in a fun, unique way. And I didn't know Hawk and Animal had a comic book.
Neither did I.
2 men who literally looked like they were ripped out of like a Mad Max film. Now, I'm surprised that nobody really knew about this, especially given how many people love the Legion of Doom. Believe it or not, the WWE construction set that I was talking about earlier, about the Triple H that I have and that stuff, one of the sets that I'm missing is the Legion of Doom. So it's going for around $50 or so right now. It's a decent enough price because normally it went for around $30, so it's not too much of a markup for a toy that's now discontinued. I'm on the hunt for it, but that's another story. Because then, in 1999 as well, Image Comics would come around, the home of Spawn, and they would give the Super Shredder himself, Kevin Nash, his own comic book that would last 2 issues and a preview.
I don't understand why he's dressed like leather coat, Batman-looking armor, and a big giant gun.
Well, this
and the half-naked girls with him.
Well, it's Kevin. All right. First off, he was in Magic Mike, so women like that are throwing themselves at him constantly. Secondly, he was the
Magic Mike 2.
He was in both.
Oh, was he? I've never watched either of them.
He was in both of them, and he was the Super Shredder, so he can do no wrong at all. But one of the things with this comic book, it would last 2 issues in the preview. It was unique because they weren't really, as you've seen us talk about, just a wrestler yourself, you're not getting a comic book. The Legion of Doom got it, but they were only a 2-issue run for a special little one-off thing to help promote proper healthy living for children. This wasn't like that. This was literally Todd McFarlane going, hey, you want a comic book? Here's a comic book. They let him write it himself. So Kevin Nash helped write the story. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic universe in which Kevin Nash is trying to... He's the primary character. He's kind of like Snake Plissken and all those big badass post-apocalyptic guys. You know, going around, hence the trench coat, hence the big gun, hence the futuristic style. Unfortunately, while this went on, he was a member of the Wolfpack. He was taking out Goldberg. Nobody cared about the comic book one bit. I actually happen to have to wonder, if we ever get an interview with Kevin Nash, I got to know how many of those did he sell and how many of those has he signed since the release of that comic book.
If I could get a copy of that, that's what I would have him sign.
Oh, yeah.
Forget my NWO shirt. Sign the comic.
Oh, no. If I'm having him sign anything, it's a Super Shredder action figure. Because that's what needs to go on. He needs to be recognized more as the Super Shredder than Kevin Nash, Big Daddy Cool Diesel. But in 1999, Kevin Nash might have gotten his own comic, But he wasn't the only one to get his own comic. Chaos Comics, one of my favorite independent comic companies out of that time period.
I remember this series coming out.
In 1999, they would give The Undertaker his own short run of comic books. There you see a few of the issues right there, and they would do both animated and photo covers. They gave Steve Austin a few issues. They gave China a couple issues. They gave Mankind and The Rock. This would last from 1999 to 2001 until Chaos Comics would unfortunately fold and no longer produce comics. They sold off Lady Death to another company, so hence why she's still making comics today and under her own umbrella and stuff. And then Chaos Comics would actually be bought by Diamond Distributions, and now we have Diamond, I believe it is, who are now releasing newer comic books based off of characters that were original to Chaos, such as Evil Ernie and a few other ones that were popular of the time. For me, you will always see him on the table here. I always have at least one copy of the Insane Clown Posse's Pendulum comic book because it was made by Chaos Comics. It's one of my favorite comic books, period. I'll get into it probably next week here, as much as Michael's going to have a hating look on his face, but the art style is literally the same art style you would see in those WWE Chaos comics. I love the way the art of Chaos was at the time. Everything was bigger, badder, larger than life, and even when they got into the horror elements and the darker elements of the stories, you would see that in great detail. And you see, like, there's the Rock's cover, or part of the Rock's illustration in it. Unique comic book to say the least, and Chaos would run with it as long as they could.
I remember seeing advertisements on Monday Night Raw and everything for that comic.
Oh yeah, even in some of these ICP Pendulum comics, you would find advertisements for the WWE comics, because obviously if it's owned by the same comic company, try to get everything out there as you can. And I gotta wonder if ICP was in the WWF comics, because that would be unique, because not only would they have been on WWE television at one point, they would have been in put it this way, ICP is the only tag team to compete in ECW, WCW, WWF, TNA Impact, Ring of Honor. You name a major wrestling promotion beyond New Japan Pro Wrestling, ICP has been there, including owning their own promotion. So ICP Pendulum Comics, you're on the wrestling list now too. But we would continue on. In 2000, WCW would team once again with Marvel Comics to release Slam Force. This would be an action figure line that was going to have a 7-issue comic book tie-in. You would get the preview issue, as you can see in the left-hand corner of the Kevin Nash figure there. Unfortunately, a certain rabid Wolverine named Chris Benoit would jump ship from WCW to WWF and make WCW and Marvel Entertainment, because this was owned by Toy Biz at the time, who were producing the WCW toys, which is a subsidiary of Marvel Comics, hence the unique, interesting tie-in for the both of them, because when you already have the comic company owning the toy company and they're making the wrestling toy license, it's 1, 2, 3, let's check off these darts. But it would get canceled. They wouldn't even see the light of day. We'd only get that preview issue because of the Chris Benoit jumping to WWF in the January of that year.
A bunch of wrestlers at that time, the whole Radicals.
Yeah, the whole Radicals. Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, and Eddie Guerrero would jump from WCW to WWE TV and would cause this entire line to go belly up. Who really knows what would have happened with it and whether or not the story would have actually been decent enough. I haven't owned any of this. I wasn't big into WCW at the time, but I might have to buy one of these figures, 2 of these figures, there's only 4 of them,
to get it,
just to see them. Like, I buy the WWF Stomp figures, so that is in and of itself. Then we would get Renee Mero / Renee Lesnar / Sable got her own comic book. Once again, she would team up with, I believe it was Image Comics once again, and they gave her 10th Muse. She didn't write for this comic. She was just the look for the character. They based the look of the character and drew her after Renee Mero, Sable, to better claim. This wouldn't last long. They would rebrand it with other celebrities and other people throughout history. You can still find 10th Muse in comic book stores now. Unfortunately, Renee Mero was only attached to it for a short time.
So I know we have a bunch left. I know we're not going to get through this whole list. So I think next week we should finish the other half of the list. Actually make this a 2-part series, because there's still a good amount to go.
You know what? I actually really enjoy that.
And I'm normally not one to do that, but there is a lot on here, and I still have to get
that only takes us, ladies and gentlemen,
halfway of what
to
we've
the
done.
year 2000. That's it. We're up to the year 2000 right now. We will return back to this on a later date, ladies and gentlemen.
Next week we'll do it.
Well, we got Mark Muncy
Mark
next
probably.
week.
So yeah, we'll have come back probably.
Tell you what, since we don't actually have any new comic books of the week, we'll talk about this, and we'll talk about Swamp Thing next week. How's that sound with Mark?
That sounds good.
All right, that sounds great to me, but unfortunately, how many tallywhacks do we got? This is your last chance, people.
I got 2. Let's do this.
Let's get them in, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we heard, if you donate $25, you're going to lose our shot here for a little bit.
I have to move the mic back.
Yep. I'll try to get in my camera back in my... All right, there we go. Thank you, Rob.
God.
If you donate $25 to WeBeam TV using the Cash App, that's $25. This man right here gets 2 tallywhacks on the backside using the wonderful longboard
Hit the
here.
butt and not my thigh.
I'll hit whatever I want. The people want entertainment, and that's what we're going to give them here, dang it. So, squeal like a pig or something. So we've got like 2 of these things, and if you want to donate, ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Cash App, $WeBeam TV. He's trying to pull the Shawn Michaels here. You ready, Michael? Let's do this.
Oh, God.
All right, this is for you. All right. Yeah, okay. You ever seen that movie, Dazed and Confused with Ben Affleck? That's one.
I
John,
have to watch my mouth on this show.
how much do we owe him, John? It's 2, right?
2.
Yeah, this is why they want to let me do this on Nerd Talk.
I hate him because I see him teasing the hit.
Yeah. So there we go. He's going to have a hard time sitting for the rest of the week. Oh, I'm loving it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back next week with issue number 12. We're going to have the rest of our history of professional wrestling comic books next week. We're going to have Mark Muncy from Erie, Florida here, and we're going to talk some things about Swamp Thing. Hopefully he knows a little bit about pro wrestling, or else he's going to be in for a long haul there, you know. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here at Comic Book 101 TV. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with us, so we want to thank you once again. I am the wonderful, prettiful, beautiful host, the one and only Princess of Weird, Josh Johnson. He is my ever-lovely co-host,
Michael Stanley, cosplay in Tampa Bay.
Thank you all for joining us here on Comic Book 101 TV. Please check him out, Cosplay in Tampa Bay. Check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Comic Book 101 TV. Until next week, we'll see you then.